Temple AME Church, 109 Green Avenue in Greenville, South Carolina. We are so thankful and grateful that you have chosen to share in this worship experience with us this morning. I'd like for us to look at a passage of scripture in 1 Kings chapter number 8. 1 Kings chapter number 8. And I will read verse number 30 into your hearing as a springboard for our message this morning. And hearken thou to the supplication of thy servant and of thy people Israel, when they shall pray towards this place. And hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and when thou hearest, forgive. If any man trespass against his neighbor, and an oath be laid upon him to cause him to swear, and the oath come before thine altar at this house, then hear in heaven and do. As we transition from Trump and Pence to Biden and Harris, from decadence to decency, from cruelty to civility, from ignorance to decorum, I want to thank our God this morning for keeping us. Because that's what he has done. In our going out and our coming in, he has kept us. Yes. In our getting up and laying down, he has kept us. Mm-hmm. On our jobs, taking our children to school and helping them with their homework, he has kept us. While rolling mama's hair and taking daddy to the doctor, God has kept us. While washing dishes and frying chicken and washing the car, God has kept us. Now that begs the question, why? Why is it necessary for God to keep us? Because things can get jacked up when people are jacked up. Yeah. Well, Reverend, what do you mean jacked up? To be jacked up means to be in disarray. Yes. Like 45 has this country. Yes. Yep. In disarray. Yep. And it happened because of sin. Yes. Now some preachers don't like to preach or talk about sin because they don't want to offend anybody, but sin and the sin problem is real. Yeah. And because it's real, sometimes you just got to lay the skunk on the table for everybody to see. Amen. 45 has a sin problem. And people knew it before they put him in office, but they put him in anyway. Yes. And while the skunk was in office, some people acted as if everything was all right, but he stunk up everything. Yes. Race relations and immigration, he stunk it up. Taxes and health care, he stunk it up. The economy and foreign affairs, he stunk it up. Climate change and the pandemic, he stunk it up. And the truth of the matter is, segments of the church participated in his cruelty, his indecency, and his lack of decorum. They did it while hiding behind religious platitudes and euphemisms. But behind all their flowery language and their poetic jargon, the religious right did not call 45 on his stinky behavior. Instead, they were complicit and sat around the table with him, supporting his lies and racism and ignorance for photo ops. Y'all ain't saying. David, the efficient and effective shepherd and legendary poet, says it like this: I was born in sin and shapen in iniquity. Paul, the prophetic church planner and ambidextrous author, said it like this: that which I should do, I don't do. And that which I ought not to do, that's what I do. Brothers and sisters, after years of study and exposure to great theological minds, the church still wrestles with the sin. And unless you think I'm making it up, I'm going to hide myself in scripture and let the scripture shine a light on what I'm talking about. Is it all right if I hide in scripture this morning? In verse 31, Solomon says, when a man wrongs his neighbor. I need to stop right there, because even with the education, learning, and training, with our seminaries and symposiums and conferences, with our Bibles, the KJV, the CEV, and the NIV, neighbors are still being wronged. Wrong because those in authority take advantage of those they have authority over. The church still blocks certain folks out. And they do it while calling them brother and sister. In the text, God has allowed Solomon, the illegitimate son of David and Bathsheba, to build the temple. The Ark of the Covenant, which symbolizes the presence of God, has been brought into the temple and set in place. And Solomon stands before the people and starts to pray. Now, I'm not going to recite the entire prayer, but I will give you the essence of Solomon's prayer. And the essence of the prayer is, God, keep your eyes on us, both day and night, because we have a sin problem. You don't have to believe me, but just look at verse 33. When your people Israel have been defeated and an enemy because they have sinned against you. I got to stay right there for a few minutes. Can I stay right there?
Stay right there.
I got to stay right there because when you think about it, 45 caused the nation, this nation, to be defeated on every front. White supremacy moved from the fringes to the nation's capital. Russia invaded Ukraine and threatened NATO. South Korea is on the verge of war with North Korea. Immigrants were detained and children were separated from their parents at the border. Iran is on the verge of having a nuclear weapon. Affordable health care was almost replaced. The top 1% got richer while the rest of us got poorer. Global warming spread and polar ice caps melted at an unprecedented rate. A global pandemic has taken over 400,000 Americans, and after almost a year, they still don't have it under control. Church sin will cause you to be defeated. But I got some good news this morning. King's kids are never defeated. Because king's kids are winners and not losers. They're the head and not the tail. They're in front and not behind. They prevail and do not lose. I don't know about you, but I expect to win. And when I don't win, I know something is wrong. Because immediately I fall on my face and start to beg the Lord for forgiveness. Because I know I messed up. I start asking God, blot out my transgressions and purge me of my iniquities and cleanse me, oh God. Church, we need to God to watch over us because there's a sin problem. And sin causes you to live a defeated life. Y'all stay with me. Y'all stay with me. I'm trying to help somebody this morning. Listen. Don't sit too high on your horse and think you got it made because sin will defeat you. 45 got too high on his horse. And like my granddaddy used to say, he got too big for his britches. And he was defeated. He said it was a rigged election, but it wasn't. He was defeated. He said the election was stolen, but he was defeated. He said it was a hoax and voter fraud, but he was defeated. You remember what happened. Joe Biden was stuck in the mud. He lost Iowa. He lost New Hampshire. He lost Nevada. But when he got to South Carolina, and A black congressman named Jim Clyburn endorsed him and pulled him out of the mud, and from that moment on, 45 was defeated. Let me thank you. Look at verse 35. When the heavens are shut up and there is no rain, because your people have sinned against you, church, sin causes the heavens to slam shut on you. Just like defeat, drought is one of the covenant curses listed in Deuteronomy 28. What happened was this. Around 1400 BC, the children of Israel were in Moab, where the Jordan River flows into the Dead Sea. Moses has handed over leadership to Joshua, but he asked Joshua to grant him one last privilege. And Moses delivers his farewell address in an attempt to prepare the children of Israel to enter into the promised land. The address is actually a set of instructions that lay out how they are to behave once they've entered the promised land. But when you look at it carefully, you'll discover that Deuteronomy is actually a renewal of the covenant given back in Exodus. Y'all stay with me. But one of the differences, the section in chapter 28 is on blessings and curses. Verse 1 of chapter 28. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands, the Lord your God will set you high above the nations on earth. Verse 2. All these blessings will come upon you and accompany you if you obey the Lord your God. The King James Version translates it like this. Blessings will come upon you and overtake you. Great God Almighty. That means that if I do what the Lord tells me to do, blessings will run over me. They will actually run me down. Let me illustrate by using an illustration I've used before. I says it all right if I use an illustration I've used before. Yes. Somebody type in the chat, use it, preacher. Use it. There was a guy in our community named Richard. And Richard was a world-class sprinter that competed against Bob Hayes, who at that time was the world's fastest human. Richard said because of his ability to anticipate the starter's pistol, he had a better start than Bob Hayes had. So when they raced, he would always start out in the lead. He said, but about 50 or 60 yards in, he would hear this ticking, tick, 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 tick. Richard said the ticking was the sound of Bob Hayes coming up on him to overtake him. Well, church, that's the way the